today's video I'm going to play with my new tool. That's the xTool MetalFab 800 watts. And while I do that, lasering the inside of the hull, Rachel is going to do the stern roof.
With my new tool.
So today is a really exciting day. I've only gone and bought myself a brand new tool.
Let me tell you this, let me tell you right now, your exquisite kiss still burning. Didn't know I missed this passion in life. Now I'm addicted somehow. Let me tell you what is up with your smile? It's impossible, not melting, irresistible. When I look through your eyes, not even sky's the limit.
Now I'm a lucky boy, because I really did get a fantastic discount on this. This is the xTool MetalFab, and xTool have probably given me the best ever discount that I've ever had so far doing this whole YouTube thing. So thank you, xTool. And all I've got to do in return is just show it in early July. They said just show it on the videos, that's all. So I'm going to do more than that. I'm going to show it, I'm going to use it too. Right, I need to unbox and get this xTool MetalFab set up. Luckily, Rachel's away for the weekend with our daughter, so I'm not going to get into trouble for getting everything out of the boxes. There's boxes everywhere. This is the xTool MetalFab, and it's the 800 watt version. I wouldn't have minded the 1200 watt version, but they're even more expensive and I couldn't quite reach to that, and there might be more power requirements that might be challenging on the boat. Let's get it all set up. So it's really important to wear the safety glasses, and you look cool too. There we go. So let me just stick the loop in, and then we'll see if we can lay our first ever laser weld on 4mm steel. So learned a few things, just been having a bit of a fiddle around with that. And what I find is, if the steel is cut perfectly straight, with a tiny chamfer on it, and that chamfer's not for penetration, it's for the guide wire. If you have it straight like that, it's easy. Almost so easy, a child could do it. And the reason behind it is that you don't have to worry about the hand feed rate, because if you've got a nice clean channel, the feed wire pushes the torch backwards at the right rate, and you get an absolutely perfect weld. If you've got an edge that's not well prepped like that, not straight, you can't use that feature, so it becomes more hand welding, a little bit like a MIG torch. No worse, but you still need that hand kind of coordination skill. So when I was doing that on the older steel, it was not as good as when I did it on a nice straight edge, as I've just done with that fillet joint. Look at that, ignore that bit. And that was me having a little play around with the settings, which didn't go quite so well. But here, that was absolutely phenomenal. So it actually works well, and I think with more practice, I've been doing this for about 15 to 20 minutes now, and I'm quite impressed. The penetration is really good. That's what surprised me. It doesn't look like much of a weld when you're doing it, but when you turn it over, it's completely penetrated all the way through. Anyway, that's pretty snazzy. We'll see what we can weld in a bit, but right now I want to go on to my favourite thing, probably one of the most vital things at the moment with blue steel, and that's cleaning. I've gone and got all posh, and I've got one of these xTool selected air dryers. It's kind of an air conditioning unit to dry out the air, because we're going to use a compressor, and hopefully we get nice dry air that we can use to do two things. We can cut with that, but we can also clean with it. So I'm going to have a little play. These laser glasses are pretty nifty. They make fantastic sunglasses. Laser cleaning works really well. I'm quite impressed. I've got a small problem, and that's that the fitting for the compressor is leaking. You know, the 1/4" BSP fitting, it's brand new. Right, so the cleaning width there is 1 centimetre, 10 millimetres. But we need wider. So I think we need to install the Max Clean accessory. Anyway, enough practicing. Let's do something a little bit useful with that laser. Let's just clean up the inside of one of these rudders. So the cleaning job with that Max Clean attachment was brilliant. So that's going to be really good. So let's not mess around down here anymore. Let's get some big boy work done back down at the boat. So it's a beautiful day today, and we've got to do some work inside the tent at the back of the boat. I've got the xTool MetalFab ready to go because we've got to do some cleaning up of the hull plates. Okay, so we're back inside the boat and we're revisiting that hull where we've got a 2mm gap between the old hull plate and the new hull plate. And since we've left it, it's kind of flash rusted up. So what I want to do is use my magic laser machine and clean that up, ready for some paint and maybe very, very shortly ready for some welding. Not that I do it all the time, but I get told off a lot on the videos for not wearing PPE, which is not quite true, because when I talk to you, I take it off. And I'm fairly sure you're conflating me talking to you in between jobs with me not having any PPE on. Anyway, this job is one where you definitely need it. Not only do you need the laser goggles for obvious reasons, but you definitely need a mask. It's vaporizing all this paint and rust and things like that, and it's getting pretty thick in here. So we are wearing a good mask for this. Right, got to get on.
Met when the leaves were falling, you felt like home. It was like you could see right through me, but now I'm all alone. I couldn't make you love me, now I know why. Two wrongs don't make a right. I know you don't deserve me, and I'll be alright. On my looking back on the long cold mornings in your arms, the feeling of home seems distant now that we're apart. I couldn't make you love me, now I know why. Two wrongs don't make a right. I know you don't deserve.
The laser cleaners made light work of that. That 4.5 centimetre beam width makes a real difference. You can really make some progress. That's looking nice, almost ready to get some paint on that. You never know, I might even be tempted to weld it. Before I do though, let's just clean up and get a weld in on the rudders, the little brackets that Aid made us. Maybe we can use our new laser welder to do that. A quick thank you to two of you that have supported us on our Amazon wish list. The first thank you goes to Tony. Tony, I can't pronounce your surname. I'm going to give it a go. Tony de Javea. And I'm having a stab at that. Tony, I do apologise for that. Thank you very much. Tony bought us some gloves from the wish list. But also, Mike Colling. Thank you, Mike. Mike reached out. He'd sent us some gloves also. But the name didn't come through, so I didn't know who they'd come from. So Mike, thank you for reaching out. Really good of you. 2 sets of gloves but they have two different uses. I'll be honest with you, Rachel's nicked those gloves that you got for me because she likes them. They're very, very soft. And thank you, Tony. There were two different sets of gloves. The ones Tony got, they're really heavy duty for the heavier things, for the sharp, heavy steel. The other gloves I find really good just for general wearing. But as I said, Rachel's stolen them. But thank you anyway. A quick mention about safety, because a few of you, when I've used laser products in the past, have been concerned about the safety issues to do with the laser. But it's like any other industrial process. There are inherent dangers with lots of the things you do, whether you're using metal pressers, welders, grinders, etc. The main danger with laser welding is stray light radiation, which is what a laser is, because you don't want it going into your eyes. And that's the reason, first of all, you have to wear the right glasses. And these aren't just welding glasses or dark sunglasses. They actually filter the frequency of light used in the process laser. And that's not that red laser that you can often see. That's for eyeing up the job. The actual process laser is invisible radiation. So you don't actually see a lot of the light frequency that would cause the damage. These filter out those frequencies of light. The second thing is, of course, is then to make sure that other people aren't affected by any stray radiation, which is caused by reflection. It reflects, it bounces off the job that you're doing, and also you could accidentally wave the thing around and catch somebody in the eye. So we've got what we consider to be a laser control zone. So nobody's allowed in here. We've barricaded the door, and Rachel's on watch out. She's standing up above, but she's on watch out to make sure nobody tries to get in. They're not going to get in through the door at the moment. I've barricaded it anyway. So laser controlled zone, and wear the right equipment. Then all the other heat, fire regulations go with the normal welding. xTool take the whole safety thing really seriously. There's safety splattered all over everything. There's 3 safety manuals with the bits that I got. And I only got 3 bits. I got the xTool welder, I got the air dryer, and I got the max clean attachment that goes with it. And every single one of those had its own safety manual. And of course, before you're allowed to use the welding machine, the MetalFab welder, you have to do a training module, and then you have to get the code from the training module, put it into your welder before the welder allows you to use it. And on top of that, there's a key that you take away from the welder to stop other people from striking it up. And there's various interlocks. It won't weld without the right gas pressure. It won't weld without the welding loop in place to try and make sure that you keep your tool on the job before it won't fire. So a variety of interlocks that stop you from accidentally lasering yourself. And that's good, even though I'm Gen X and don't believe in any kind of health and safety. Right, let's do some welding. This is the first time I've ever used my xTool MetalFab laser welder in anger. Here aboard the boat, I spent about 10 minutes yesterday doing a little bit of practice, and today I thought I'd have a go on the boat. So I've welded this bracket to this longitudinal, and I did a couple of passes. In fact, I think I did 3 passes. And the reason I did that, it was probably completely unnecessary, but the weld was so neat, like this weld I've done here, welding to the actual rudder tube. I was a bit disconcerted. I'm used to a big fat MIG weld, so I made a couple of passes to make it look like a MIG weld. That was probably completely unnecessary. There though, look at that. That's a beautiful weld. Right, so Rachel's been sanding on the back, getting the roof ready. She's getting all the thick off with the 40 grit, ready for us to prep this and get some paint on it. We've got a few holes that we need to patch on it first, but anyway, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, where can I get one of those amazing Saving Blue Steel t-shirts from? Amazon. Much cheaper than using Spreadshirt and things like that. I'll put the link down below. If you do buy yourself one, send me a photograph. I'll put you on our merch wall.
Looking back on the long cold mornings in your arms, the feeling of home seems distant now that we're apart. I couldn't make you love me, now I know why. 2 wrongs don't make a right. I know you don't deserve me, and I'll be alright on my own.
Pretty soon, we're going to be putting the transom on. But before we do, because we're going to lose that inside-outside vibe we've got on, a bit of al fresco, we want to do more surface prep work in here while we've got the ventilation, because having the back off is phenomenal ventilation for all the dust and the fumes and things. And because the laser cleaner is so good at this kind of surface rust that's behind me, we thought we'd take the opportunity to kind of get that done and get all this inside here cleaned up and get its final first coat of paint on, if that makes sense. And because we're doing that, I didn't want to put Jotun on the hull at the moment because we'll be dropping stuff on it, walking on it, getting it dusty, getting it dirty. So I've just put some weld-through primer on for the time being, for 2 reasons. One, we've got to weld through soon. We will be doing the seam welding on that. I feel almost ready to do that. But secondly, the weld-through primer comes off easy with the laser cleaner. The Jotun 90 is stubborn. It's tough stuff, that Jotun 90. So we've used the weld-through primer just for the time being, and we're going to get on with some of this rear cabin internal paint work, as I said before we put the transom on. Let me show you. We've been having a play, just having an experiment. So you can see where we've had a play at that. What it does is it blasts away the rust really quickly. The paint, it kind of leaves behind unless you work harder at it, hold it on longer, and then it will burn paint down to the metal. The paint's adhered quite well in between where this surface rust is. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the laser cleaner and we're going to blast off all this surface rust, and then we can use the Jotun 90 on top. And as I've said, Jotun 90 is surface tolerant. You can almost paint it over actual rust, but the cleaner you get it, the better. And this laser cleaner leaves a nice keyed surface to be able to get the new paint onto. Right, it's temporary paint, weld through primer so we can weld through, but also so we can burn that off fairly soon with the laser cleaner, with the max clean. Once we've done all these sides, got all this cleaned up and painted, and won't that look like a different boat? The problem with boys and their toys is when they get them, they can't stop arsing around with them. And I think I've spent the whole week messing around with the laser welder. So I think half of this video this week is just me playing around with it and seeing what I can do and trying to do something constructive with it. So I do apologise for spending the whole week messing around with the laser welder. It might make this video a little bit short, I don't know. I've got to go back and start editing it now, but I've got a funny feeling there's probably going to be less content in it because most of what I've done is been practicing and playing around and doing some stuff at home too. I did a bit of cleaning of the rudders. So what I'll do is I'll get this video out, and fingers crossed it's not too short. And I think what I'll do is I'll get all those clips that I've kind of put together of me messing around with the laser welder, setting it up and stuff like that, that some of you might find interesting, and do a bit of a midweek special. So Rachel's done a good job of that top, hasn't she? And we've got a little bit more to do. She was a bit nervous about going beyond the A-frame on the back, and there's a few bits and pieces to take off. I'm going to do that. The weather's absolutely glorious. We've been procrastinating this morning. We've had an ice cream already from the ice cream parlour. Right, I better hop up there. Let's get these bits off, get it sanded, and fingers crossed we can get some paint on this. These are from the solar panel that go down, I'm assuming, to the solar charge converter. So we need to get these off. You can see there's been a bit of corrosion around here. We're underneath the A-frame where we've got that corrosion, you can see straight through. And if you remember this is what I bashed out last video, bashing out the hole underneath, but this has appeared. It's a bit of a conundrum. It's like ash. So no idea what that is. I hope it's not somebody's granddad. So conundrum solved. It turns out That was Rachel emptying out the sander when she was up here sanding. She emptied out the filter into that pile. Anyway.
I'm just letting you know where I'm putting your apples when you've gone.
Caught behind Venetian blinds, out of reach for the city lights. This ain't where I belong. Hey, look at me, man, what I've become. I've been running east, looking for a sunset, digging deep since '99. What I thought was gone was sitting in my pocket in plain sight all along. I think it's time for me to go, burn all bridges. All I know, I got lost along the way, fell between the foam, pulling stitches. Time to let go, so come what may. Don't look before you leave. What you give, you get to keep. So long, farewell, bye-bye. Let's have a toast for those lost old eyes. And my crooked little heart that seems so rebellious is falling apart right now. I'm bleeding an easy kill, gonna leave it all behind. I think it's time for me to go, burn all bridges. All I know, I got lost along the way.
So you can probably see where the solar panel plugs were. It's quite significant corrosion, it's quite deep. I'm going to have a think about what to do to repair that. There's a few holes as well where screws have been, drilled holes. And the plan initially was to weld those up, but the problem with welding them up is that I have to remove all the cabinetry on the inside so that we don't catch fire. And the cabinetry on the inside looks good at the moment. I've not been able to inspect it deeply and hard, but it looks good. And I didn't want to tear out good cabinetry if that can stay there. So I'm thinking about using an epoxy filler of some sort. I'm certainly going to do that in the short term. We'll get some epoxy filler, fill in these divots, fill in those holes. If in the future we need to remove that ceiling for any reason, then we can convert the technique to welding all those holes up and removing the filler. And because I don't have any filler right now, we'll just paint it up and hope that the heavens don't open until I order some more filler to come, hopefully in the next couple of days.
Pulling stitches, time to let go, so come what may.
I'm underneath the A-frame and I wanted to show you this bit here. For some reason, this side and the other side, there's a load of fairing in here and it's quite thick. If I say quite thick, it's probably about 6 mil thick. And where it's been faired, it's cracked. And I've had the same happen at the other side. And where the cracks were, I decided to take the sander and just gouge into the cracks and see what was underneath them. And it goes down to the steel, and where the steel is, it was rusty. Not badly rusted, because it cleaned up quite well, but you can see that water had been getting down the cracks. You can see here I've gouged it out, and it's not corroded deep into the steel underneath, but you can see that line there where there's corrosion, where water's got underneath. So I'm going to use something a little bit more aggressive and just get the rest of this crack out and make sure that there's no corrosion under there, and then we can get it epoxy primered and faired back up again. So what I've done is I've ground it till that rusty ring disappeared. Oh, there's a bit there, so I'll get a little bit more on that side, because that's where the water's obviously tracked underneath and caused a little bit of corrosion. Where there's no rusty ring, that's where we've got good adhesion of the fairing, and you can see the pitting there where water's been getting over time. Okay, we'll go and do the other side. I'll just get that bit out and then we'll do the other side. That crack was quite superficial. It didn't go all the way down to the steel, and the steel's beautiful and clean. No rusty rings.
Don't need someone to save me, no, and don't come running to blame me. From miles away I can tell that something's off. The way you look and how you pause when you talk, I think I said enough. You said your love for me something brand new. You said this is something you would never do. Here we are in your car, let me see who you are, who you really are, yeah. Don't need you here to say you're sorry, 'cause if you're gonna leave me, then just do it. Don't take it slow, don't be gentle, no, I just gotta know. If you're gonna leave me, then just do it. Let's be honest for a second, yeah. You'll be.
I'm going to try and get a shot without the sun going into your eyes, because the sun's coming in this direction, but take a look at that. That's what we've been up to. That's the first coat of epoxy primer that's gone on here. We'll have to come back tomorrow and put a second coat on, but that'll probably be in the next video. Anyway, in the meanwhile, thanks for watching. Don't forget, thumbs up, subscribe button, bell icon, hype button, leave us a comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
You really are.